All right. This is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video. What up, folks? Once again, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today, we're going to be talking about a tale of two different stories. There is a lot of news going on today. There are a couple different stories that are in the news. So we're going to go from one topic potentially to the next. Now, guests in the box will be able to pick and choose whichever topic they want to discuss. But first thing we're going to be talking about is the case of Danielle Perry. He is the 24-year-old Navy, or better yet, Marine, 24-year-old Marine veteran that choked out Jordan Neely on a subway in New York. He has indeed been charged with manslaughter as of today, facing a potential of 15 years of incarceration. His attorneys state that it was indeed a case of self-defense. So we're going to be talking about that. And obviously, we got Biden in the news, certainly with his son potentially receiving money from a foreign entity because of his father's position. So we're going to be talking about it from a standpoint of white-collar criminals in regards to politics and tribalism. In other words, if the politician of your choice, the presidential politician of your choice, turned out to be corrupt, not only corrupt in the court of law, but you actually believe that the politician of your choice was corrupt, would it affect your vote at the presidential level? In other words, if you found out President Biden had been truly involved in some white-collar corruption and was absolutely guilty, would it change your vote to, say, President Trump? If you're a Trump supporter, my beloved MAGA, and you truly believe that Trump was involved in some white-collar corruption, and you believed he was guilty, would it lead you to be willing to flip and vote for Biden? Because both individuals are being accused of white-collar crimes. So we want to bring that up. Nevertheless, as always, we always make the solemn promise that we do not block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. This program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are the preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome too. Going to the comment section, because justice matters. Justice always should matter. And in regards to justice, having justice matter, in regards to the Danielle Perry case, the Marine choking the guy out in the subway, is that justice? Or some might argue, is that mob justice? Whereas the court system of New York is only charging this individual because the public was going bananas. If the public hadn't said anything, would Danielle Perry be charged for manslaughter with Jordan Neely? Going to be asking that. Nevertheless, I'm going to go straight to the box. Appreciate you folks tuning in. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 5,000 likes to start it off. We'll keep it going with New Jersey Nightmare. Noon and welcome to the program. We'll finish up our conversation because we had a little trouble. But you were saying when we talked last, you do believe Danielle Perry is guilty of manslaughter.
Yes.
So what about the self-defense claim? No chance at all it was self-defense.
Again, at no time did he strike anyone. Was he screaming? Was that could have be seen as intimidating, but at no point did he put his hands on anybody else. The Marine went after him.
Yeah, you know what I was trying to say last time when my signal was all screwed up is that the individual, the journalist that filmed that event stated exactly what you're saying. He was shouting at passengers and asking for money, but he had never put his hands on anyone. So why do you think they're even trying to pursue the self-defense claim then?
To get this guy out of trouble. They want the Marine to not go to jail. Like, I'm sorry, but there's a segment of the population are conservatives that consider homeless less than human.
Damn.
And don't care what happened.
So up to and including taking the life of a homeless, you believe there's a certain segment of the conservative population that are okay with taking the life of a homeless person?
Wouldn't surprise me. I'm talking about the most extreme right wing.
Right, right. What about the notion? What about the other folks? Now, this guy who put him in a chokehold did not restrain him alone. What about the other individual that was holding his legs down? Do you think they should be charged?
I don't know if she'd be charged with manslaughter, but if he kept holding the legs the whole 15 minutes and didn't say a word to what the body to what the gentleman was, he was, dude, he was dead. After 5 minutes, he was already dead. But he kept holding on to him for another 10 minutes on top of that. How
Yeah.
could you not tell that the man? Think about how long a time that is in the reality of that moment. Like when you sit there and watch the whole video, and you got a stopwatch in your hand, and you see just how long it's taking. It's a 15 minutes is an eternity. How do you not notice he's gone completely limp, unresponsive whatsoever, and stop breathing for another 10 minutes after the first five? How do you not notice that?
Yeah, that's you raise a good point. Also, you have to wonder what was going on the subway for 15 minutes. Are the stops that far apart? 15 minutes, as you're pointing out, that is a long time. Generally, a subway train has stops that are not 15 minutes apart.
No, no, I've done it, so no. There's
Yeah,
quick stops in between. I don't know what happened here. How is it the cameras didn't pick up what was going on, and at least the train conductor stopped the train, come back, and see what's up, let
yeah.
alone law enforcement.
So, what about the notion? I have to ask this because it's coming up in the comments, and this is probably why some folks are not necessarily up in arms about the death of this guy. JS in the comments is saying the guy had an active warrant for his arrest and had been to jail over 40 times. What do you do when people bring that up?
How could have the Marine known that at that time? The Marine didn't even know the guy's name. How could he know the guy's record? I was loving when they bring that up. They tried to bring that up during the whole George Foreman thing. George Floyd,
George
excuse me.
Floyd.
Whoops.
George Foreman is still with us, George Floyd, but go ahead.
Okay, so anyway, the cop didn't know that about Floyd when he came up walking up and didn't even really investigate. Did he actually go in
Yeah,
and test the bill, or did he just start roughing up Floyd? We all know what happened there. That's old. That's old story.
yeah. Well,
He had
even
no
though that's
idea the
an old
guy's
story,
name.
I give viewers all the time that even believe George Floyd did not die at the hands of Derek Chauvin. I get folks that say he died from fentanyl, died from COVID. I get some crazy stories on George Floyd.
There's not crazy stories. It's distraction. They know what happened. They know what went down. They just don't care.
I don't totally disagree with you, but I got to move it on, Nightmare. I appreciate you being patient. Sometimes I'm in bad spots, so I do appreciate you coming in, man.
Take care, bud.
Absolutely. Now, folks, we're talking about obviously two different stories. We're talking about the death of Jordan Neely, which has made headlines all over the damn place because there's so much protesting in New York. The individual that was choked to death, supposedly choked to death on the subway in New York. Now, I say choked to death, not necessarily just because of the video, but I guess you'd say the forensic pathologist or coroner or whatever the case may be, did rule his death due to compression of neck. So that's what they actually ruled it. He died from compression of neck. So it is what it is. But can anyone see a self-defense claim from this individual? Because that is what he is claiming. Is manslaughter with a potential of 15 years of incarceration? You think that's suitable? Way too much? Not enough. Let me know in the comments. We'll keep it moving. The person with the camera should go to jail, says user 936. What are you going to charge him with? Feminine homicide? What would you charge? I understand that could potentially be trolling. We invite folks on their comments all the damn time. State your point without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored on the program. But what the hell would you arrest a cameraman for? I mean, I don't quite get where that would even go. All right, going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. One and only Army vet might be the person to ask. Would a full veteran of the Marines, a sergeant, he had risen to the rank of sergeant, would he not know putting someone in a headlock could do this? Good afternoon, Army vet.
Hey, good afternoon. Hell yes, he would know. Here's my thing, right?
Sure.
Much respect is due to anybody that signs on a dotted line to serve this country. but that should not be a considered factor in deciding if he should be prosecuted or not. I don't care that you served. That
Yeah.
has nothing to do
But,
with it.
but what you're saying is folks are being sympathetic toward him because he put in time in the service.
All you keep hearing is former Marine so and so, former Marine so and
Yeah.
so. That should
Yeah.
not even be in there. It should be whatever his name is, the alleged whatever, right? But they
Yeah.
keep throwing the Marine in there to try to mitigate it, to have people feel sympathy for him. Hey, much respect that he served. But bottom line is, you and no one else on that train was in jeopardy. You came up from behind him. And you can't say, well, he kept moving, he kept moving. Let me choke the shit out of you so you can't breathe and see if you're not fighting to get a damn breath.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
dumbest
That's the
shit I've
same.
ever heard, man. When people say, well, he kept moving. Of course he kept moving. He's trying to breathe.
Yeah. You know, and it's interesting you bring up the issue of bringing up his service because there's a case in Texas that's very similar. I've done stories on. It was a guy who was driving for Uber in Austin during a Black Lives Matter protest, and he had a lot of social media shit suggesting he really despised Black Lives Matter, the rioting and looting. And he went to a Black Lives Matter protest, deliberately drove to the crowd, honked his horn, and folks came up to his vehicle, which typically happens if you try to interrupt them when they're in the streets and shit like that. One of the protesters had a rifle and he shot and killed him. He has been charged with murder and convicted. And Governor Greg Abbott of Texas is offered to pardon him already. So very similar case. They keep bringing up his military service as well because the guy who shot the protester was a military veteran. So I do agree with you that they
You
do.
know,
Go ahead.
yeah, but that's what they tend to do with some people, right? Not all people, right? And looking at the comments, somebody said PTSD, and I'm coming from ignorance. Let me tell you something about PTSD, because I have friends who have PTSD, and they're not walking up behind people and choking the shit out of them. Okay, so don't try to use PTSD. Not everybody that is a veteran has PTSD. I'm gonna tell you some people that do have PTSD. Black and brown people growing up in neighborhoods where bullets are flying all the time and they're being forced into gangs and being around drugs. That's PTSD for your ass, but they don't want to have that conversation. They only want to think that police officers and military can have PTSD. Okay, when little kids can walk past dead bodies on the way to the bus stop, that's PTSD for your ass. So don't
Yeah.
come at me with that crap. The bottom line
You
is,
know, you know
such
what
a
the
victim.
response.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not a victim at all. Whoever's talking, I'm not a victim at all. You know what I'm saying? I come straight with mine. I'm not a victim, right?
But
But
you
y'all,
know what
whenever
the
black
wait,
people
wait a
talk
minute,
about
Army
something,
man.
they
Hold
always want
on,
to
hold
come with
on.
that damn victim shit.
Hold on, calm down. You know what the rebuttal is going to be. First of all, when you talk about children having PTSD for all of the crime that happens in urban areas, they're going to say, "Well, that's black folks committing it," and you keep voting in the same politicians that do nothing to solve it. That's going to come up. So how do you respond to that? If you're talking about PTSD in the inner
Sure,
city, they're going to bring
I
that
can
up. So
respond to everything. I can respond to all of their bull crap comments. They want to talk about the urban areas and Democrats. Okay, Democrats are not running the rural areas where you got school shooters, right?
yeah,
You can't blame the single father not in the home like they always try to say about black people when you got a white mother and white father, but yet their white boy is still going in there killing people. He had both parents in the home. So don't come at me with these racial tropes to try to justify why things happen. Yes, rural school shooters.
so
Rural.
let me ask you to
Uvalde's
you.
not a big city, numbnut.
Yeah, let me. No, it's not. Let me
Louisville's
ask you
not
to you.
either.
Let me ask you to you this way. In regards to Daniel Perry, the Marine choke, I keep saying the Marine because it keeps
See,
coming up.
see, they already conditioned you. They already conditioned you.
That is true. That is true. But let me say it from this angle too, though. Even in terms of going after Daniel Perry and trying to hold him accountable, you're going to bring up his military background because it also shows he should have knew what he was doing could be lethal. So his military background is going to come up.
It can come up in the trial, but it should not be leading in the media, because what's going to happen is you're going to have those, especially on the right, that's automatically going to be talking about, all they're going after this. this Marine, you know what I'm saying? We're back the blue and we're for our vets when they beat the hell out of cops on January 6th. Don't you know? Their argument just doesn't fly. The bottom line is, I don't think he intentionally did it, right? So he shouldn't be charged with like first degree murder.
They're
Manslaughter
getting
is the
them with
right charge.
they're getting them with second degree manslaughter. I
Yeah.
gotta move it up, but before I do you see any racial element in this at all?
I don't. I think he overreacted. I'm not going to say he was racist and he saw a chance to kill a black guy. No, I think he overreacted. I think he was trying to hold him down, but he kept moving. But of course, you're going to keep moving if you're being choked. But I don't think it was intentional. And that's why he's getting charged with second degree manslaughter, because it wasn't intentional, but he has to answer for his actions. He overreacted. Just like you can't say, hey, I was trying to stop the shooter, but I shot 15 other people. You're still responsible for every round that comes out of that weapon.
Don't
Same
disagree with
thing.
that. All
All
right,
right, brother.
fair
Have a good
enough.
one.
15 years, real quick. 15 years, is that suitable? Too much? Too little?
I know a little bit about the system, so 15 years to me is not a lot because he's only going to do about 7.5,
Right.
right? With good behavior, so that's not a lot of time for taking somebody's life. But if that's what they give him, I'm not going to be mad at it. If that's the max he can get, and they give him the max, I'm cool with it.
All right, Army vet, appreciate you coming through.
All right.
All right. Way as he pointed out, if he did get 15 years, did half of that, or 60, 70% of it. I mean, this individual is only 24 years old. The Marine, he's only 24 years old. So even if he did 10 years, he's still getting out a relatively young man. I don't remember the age of Jordan Neely. I didn't write it down, brother. I did some research before I came on the air, but I don't remember the age of him. But the guy who took his life is fairly young, so regardless of how much time he gets from this second degree manslaughter, 30 years old. Someone's saying that Jordan Neely was 30. So by the time Daniel Perry, the one that took his life, by the time he gets out of jail, he'd be the age of the deceased. Because he's probably going to do, as my last caller said, a handful of years, probably half a dozen years, or a little bit more than that. Anyhow, we'll keep it moving. 15 minutes in a chokehold is a death sentence. Yeah, it is. If you're fighting MMA, mixed martial arts, UFC, they would never let you. They barely even give you a minute. Barely even a minute. If you got somebody in a chokehold and they can't get out of it, they're going to separate you guys pretty quick. 15 minutes. By the way, when you really think how long 15 minutes is, that's like half the length of a sitcom. That is a long time, including the commercials, to have someone in a chokehold and walk away saying, I didn't think that might take his life. Most of us, even the ones who are really good swimmers, cannot hold our breath even a fifth of that long. Even 3 minutes underwater is a long ass time to hold your breath. I would submit to you a hell of a lot of us would drown if we had to go underwater for 3 minutes. 15 is insane. I just can't understand. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't think the chokehold was tight enough, but 15 minutes is a long time to restrict someone's neck. Both oxygen and blood flow for that length of time could be lethal. All right, look it in the comments. I think this lady's making up her story about Trump. Why now? Why not when Stormy Daniels? Why not 2016? Is it possible that E. Jean Carroll, different topic, but we did one on it, Tyler Strong, in regards to E. Jean Carroll, is it possible she's making up her story? It could be. It could be. Now, she had a couple witnesses come in and state that she told them when it happened. I'm not going to automatically convict Trump, because criminally he has not been convicted. Nevertheless, do you realize how many folks are spending time in prison right now? Some will never get out, solely based on witness testimony. I'm not trying to say that Trump did it or did not do it. My only point is Trump is not special when it comes to the criminal justice system. Trump did not go through anything in the criminal justice system that millions of other Americans do not go through as well. That's all I'm trying to say. Trump, it's not like Trump is some special human being that all of a sudden got railroaded by the system and it's never did that to anyone else before. Keep in mind, President Trump himself was suggesting that we lock Hillary Clinton up without even giving her due process. So President Trump has actually participated in some unfair judicial callings himself. All right, looking in the comments section. Trump is a monster, 666. Damn, really? The Biden crime families going down. Funny they haven't been able to get anything to stick on Trump. Well, a hell of a lot of stuff they're throwing at Trump is still in the air. Let's see how much glue they apply to it. In Georgia, in New York, the January 6th hearings, the documents case. It may not, none of that may stick at all, but it is still in the air, and we'll see how adhesive on the sides of it work. In regards to President Biden, you're saying President Biden is going down. What has stuck to President Biden? Good for the goose, good for the gander. Going back to the box. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 20,000 likes. You know what we always do here. As always, program is and forever will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA preferred guests. Liberals welcome as well. We don't block, censor, or ban anyone unless the TikTok gods get their hands. So that's something out of our control. We'll keep it moving, though. Go straight to Keith, friend of the program. Welcome, Keith. Now, we're talking about two different stories. One being obviously what happened in New York with the guy being charged with manslaughter for choking out the individual. But we're also talking about in terms of our political candidates of choice. Both sides are being accused of white collar crimes, the Bidens, the Trumps. If you believed your candidate, if you believed in your heart your candidate was truly guilty of corruption, would it make you switch to the opposing candidate in a Trump versus Biden race? Would it make you switch, Keith?
To me, it's like they're all guilty. It's like the system is so corrupt. It's like it makes me not want to vote for anybody nowadays.
Mm.
It's sickening. It just makes my stomach churn the way it just seems like all of these candidates are just like unvotable these days. It's
Yeah,
just
but how can you, in American politics, a system of capitalism, a system that's designed and tailored towards those with as opposed to those without, how can you ever even aspire to be an honest candidate in the American political system? I don't think there's any way you could even successfully do that, even if you wanted to.
not the way the system is designed, not the way you have all of these like super PACs and you're like held accountable. It's like you need the money. I
Right.
mean, the amount of money that's spent, like $80 million to get into office, you're like you're a slave to these entities that are giving you all of this money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but think about it. Now, we all want a capitalist system in this country. Most politicians were doing something on their own right before becoming a politician that was generally financially successful. If we remove money out of politics, we got rid of term limits, we got rid of these huge high salaries and lifelong golden parachutes, who the hell would want to do it?
I don't know. It's like you'd almost need, like, I hate to say this, but you need somebody with money like Donald Trump, but not a Donald Trump. You know what I
Well,
mean?
Donald Trump alleges that he didn't take a salary. He was for America first. Why not Donald Trump?
Because I can't stand him.
What is it about Trump that you cannot stand? I mean, if he didn't take a salary, he sounds like he's your guy.
Because he acts like a 2-year-old.
So how do you respond to folks who say you should pay attention what a politician is actually doing for the country as opposed to his personality and voting based on emotion?
It just you look at his administration. How many people left his administration? It's like that's a telltale sign that like the man cannot work with people.
Yeah.
It's like he went through them like candy. It's ridiculous. I
Yeah.
mean, it just like it was a revolving door of
Well,
people that didn't want to work with him or that he would fire. It was just insanity. That's
well,
not what you want to work for.
he did promise to surround himself with the best and brightest. Maybe he was going through Canada seeking that.
And then if you can't work with somebody, then you would turn around and like he would just like absolutely bash them the
Yeah.
second they walked out the door.
Yeah.
That's not being a good human being. If you can't work with somebody, it's easy to just turn around and go, you know what, we didn't see like eye to eye on certain issues. I wish them the best, blah blah blah. You don't get out on the public stage and just like act like a 2-year old. Once again, it's like acting like a 2-year old. It's
Yeah.
just, it's ridiculous. Like this
So what?
whole thing that's going on with the sexual thing, the way he's handling that, the words that are coming out of his mouth is just like, I'm like, it's disgusting. Like
What has
he's
he said in regards to E. Jean Carroll? In your opinion, what has he said that's so disgusting? He said he didn't do it. So what? What do you say? You said he said something that's disgusting. What are you talking about?
Well, when he's talking about like how it's easy to grab a woman by the
Yeah.
parts and
Yeah.
all of this stuff, it's just like, it's just like that kind of stuff that's coming out of your mouth. If anybody says that in the workplace, in any workplace across America, you'd be in HR getting your termination papers in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like
But what about the
that just
what
doesn't
about the
fly.
notion? What about the notion that he claims that wasn't actually real? It was just locker room talk.
It doesn't matter whether it's locker room talk. You would get terminated at any job.
Yeah, and he didn't say that in the deposition either. He actually doubled down on it. He didn't say if it was locker room talk, that was the time to say during that deposition that was just locker room talk. Now he
Like if
actually
you
doubled down and said, "Yeah, this shit is true." So I
like
agree
if
with you that that
like if
talk wasn't in his best interest.
watching that deposition, if that didn't churn your stomach, like I don't know what does. It's just it was sickening. But not to change the subject, I wanted to say something about the Marine. Like
Sure.
as
Real quick, I just want you to know, and I'd love to hear your take on it before we move on to the case of Daniel Perry. But folks are suggesting when you're talking about Trump in the manner you are, you're sensitive, he's making you cry. How do you respond to folks that come at you like that? Because I've gotten it myself.
he's not making me cry. It's like, come on. It's like, could you work for somebody like that? Come on. If
Yeah.
that was your coworker, I mean, like I can see like would you invite the guy over to your house? Like it's just like he acts ridiculous. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
He has some choice words about Ted Cruz's wife, and I think Ted Cruz would definitely invite him to his house. All right, Daniel Perry on the subway. What do you think?
Okay, as a Marine, you cannot tell me that he wasn't trained the 3-3-3 rule, right? We were all, like I'm
Oxygen, I'm talking
ex-military.
about oxygen, water, and food.
Right. It's 3 minutes of oxygen, 3 minutes, 3 days of water, 3 weeks of food. That was like ingrained in us. He was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. You can't tell me that he wasn't trained in that. You can't tell me that he's never seen an MMA fight. These guys, if you're on an exhale, you're tapping in 15 seconds. If you're
Yeah.
on an exhale, right?
Well,
You're
what about the notion of mob justice? In other words, they may were not going to charge him, but because of such outrage, they charged him to appease the protesters. Is there any chance that happened?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you still took somebody's life. You still held them down for 15 minutes. I mean, to me, it goes back to, and you and I have talked about this before. I come from a family full of cops, and I have said to them on countless times, like during the George Floyd case, during these times when the 5 cops beat that guy to death, it's like,
In Memphis.
how much verbal judo do you guys get? how much de-escalation do you guys get? And the same answer comes up every single solitary time. Zero. After these cases happened, how much did your police force change? And they say the same thing. Zero. It's this bloodlust mentality. When you train an attack dog to attack every single solitary time, this is what that dog does. When you train police officers, when you train the military to do one thing, that's what they're going to do. They're not trained to de-escalate. They're not trained for verbal judo. They're not
Well, wait a minute.
trained
Let
to
me
do
ask you
this
this.
stuff.
In regards to Daniel Perry taking the life of Jordan Neely on the subway, what if this guy is actually yelling at folks and up in people's face? What options did they have? I just wondering, what could they have done?
We all know across America that there's an issue with homeless people, and that homeless people, the huge majority, have mental health issues. It's not like that's a huge secret.
Yeah, but that doesn't address the problem when it's actually happening. You're sitting on the subway in an enclosed environment. This guy is moving around, yelling at folks. What can you do in that moment? You can't send him to a mental health facility right now. What can you do in that moment?
You can try to talk to him. You can try to calm him down. He's not hitting anybody. He's not being physically violent with anybody. You don't go over there and choke the dude out for 15 minutes and kill him.
Yeah, I don't
That's not
disagree.
the option. There's a
I don't
lot more
disagree.
options than that.
Yeah,
It's
I do
like
think they
that's
took
not the
it.
end result. And
Yeah,
one thing that I wanted to do off topic that I would love for you to bring up in the next conversation is this Virginia judge that just overturned the 18 to 20 law of buying handguns in America. He made it unconstitutional that now all 18 to 20s can buy handguns. And you and I have talked about this. I joined the NRA when I was in the military and became a lifetime member. And I am against anybody under the age of 25. And NRA members hate me for this, to own ARs. And I am against anybody under the age of 21 to own handguns. I think there should be limitations. You can't drink a beer. It's like, I don't care if you shoot with your dad, your uncles, whatever. I don't think you should be buying the guns. And
all
people
right.
bring up the military. I'm ex-military. I worked for the military for 14 years of my life. It's one thing to be in the military, you're training, you're out there, you're firing these type of weapons. It's another thing to walk in a store at 18 years old, not trained, and buying these weapons with
I don't
1,000
disagree.
rounds.
We certainly can entertain it. I got to move it on, O'Keefe. I probably agree with you more than not on that last conversation, but come on back anytime, man.
Take care, man.
Absolutely. Real quick, that is definitely not today's topic, but in regards to lowering the age of obtaining a handgun at 18, I do, as a liberal, gotta agree with the last caller. I think our solution in America over the last generation or so has been to literally add guns to solve all of the problems we're going through. And the end result is the problems are not going away. I mean, even when we talk about cities like Chicago and New York that has historically had tough gun laws, the gun laws in those cities has eased. It is no longer impossible to get a firearm in Chicago and these other cities. And once again, the crime in Chicago is continuing to go up. It's not going down. The citizens, the law-abiding citizens in Chicago can now get firearms. You may not be able to get it the same day, but for the most part, if you are law-abiding, have no criminal records, you can get a gun in Chicago in about a week. It doesn't take that long. And the crime rate in Chicago is not falling because the legalized citizens can get guns. But it's a whole different argument. In regards to what we're talking about today, politicians charged with white-collar crimes, would it make you switch politicians? If the politician of your choice was guilty and you truly believed they were guilty. Folks are suggesting Trump worked with the Russians. Others suggest Biden worked with the Ukrainians. If you truly believe they were doing that, would you switch and vote for the other guy? That's what we're going to be asking. And then, of course, we're talking about Daniel Perry taking the life of Jordan Neely. Going back to the box, tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. We got 700 or so of you in here. So show your boy some love. Helps out the algorithms. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests, but liberals are welcome as well. With a name like this, there's no way we can turn the guy down. Mr. Controversial. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. Mr. Controversy. If it lets him in. Tim, you cannot believe the Russia hoax. I don't have all the details on any of this shit. I'll give you an example. President Biden being charged with white-collar crimes, things like that. Clearly it appears as if the Biden administration prevented a lot of the details of Hunter Biden's activity from coming out before the 2020 election. As a citizen, I don't have any clue what went on to that because we understand some of it is still being hushed and quieted. You don't think that happened in regards to Trump, in regards to Russia? I don't know. I don't know enough to say that. But in regards to Russia, Trump is going to call everything a witch hunt. Does that mean everything is? I don't know. To the point where you got George Santos in New York being arrested for stuff like getting unemployment while also working at a regular job. He's calling that a witch hunt. It's pretty damn easy to prove if you receive income from unemployment while you had a job. That's not a witch hunt. So what has happened is folks are biting on Trump's term and using it for any damn thing. What's happening with George Santos, that stuff should be pretty easily provable. But he's calling it a witch hunt. Where do you think he got that from? All right, looking in the comments. Trump was a businessman way before he was the president. Of course, he had dealings with countries. That is true, Kimberly, but that does, even as president, that doesn't mean the dealings could not have been corrupt. Hunter Biden has never been president. Hunter Biden has never been a politician, but we're going after him for corruption. President Trump has had a hell of a lot of affiliation with politicians. He was at both Bill and Hillary Clinton's wedding. So what Hunter Biden is being charged with, President Trump had the same capabilities as a citizen to do the same thing. Now, I understand folks may think Trump is 100% innocent and the Bidens are hellified guilty. That's a debate. But at the same time, just because Trump was a businessman doesn't exclude him from being involved in corrupt politics. After all, he hung around all the politicians, even Kamala Harris. Folks talk about Kamala not being a good candidate. You know, whatever you want to say about Kamala Harris, when she was in California, guess who donated money to her? Twice. President Trump. President Trump was donating money to her campaign, not to mention a host of others. How do you think you could become such a real estate mogul in America's largest city? You got to be working with politicians, the mob, unions. So Trump was a politician even when we claim he was not a politician. You don't get to Trump's level in America's largest city without being involved in politics. You're just doing it behind the scenes. He was a politician even back then. All right, looking in the comments. Like your shirt. Appreciate that. Let me go back to the box. Agree, you have to grease the wheels to get things done. Exactly. Anybody that is climbing the ranks in Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, any of those damn East Coast cities, New York, you're working with politicians because those cities are corrupt as hell. You're not going to be getting all these huge contracts and shit without working with the mob and working with politicians in those cities. You think Trump just rose to that level by sheer honesty? Let's not be naive, folks. All right, going back to the box. I couldn't bring on Mr. Controversial, but Moo the Tuxedo Cat. Box, let's try this one out. Good afternoon, Moo. Welcome back to the program.
Oh, what's going on, handsome liberal? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What do you think? If the politician of your choice, let's say we got a Trump-Biden rematch, and whichever side you're going to, You
Yeah.
found out that politician was involved in some white collar corruption, and you were certain they were guilty of it. Wouldn't
Mhm.
that make you switch to the other guy?
No, I mean, I already voted for Biden, and I know he's committed white collar crimes. So,
So
but
you don't care.
again, I did it. I did it to
So
keep
you
a
don't
fascist
care.
out, my dude. No, I care. I just, again, I have to pick between a fascist and a corporatist. I'm going to go with the corporatist over the fascist.
Okay, so in other words, there's nothing going to make you vote for Trump.
No, no, oh God, no, nothing in this world could ever make me vote for that fat orange moron. No, no.
What about the economy? Folks favor the economy. Folks favor the price at the pump. He says he
Yeah, I
can
hear
end
you.
the Russia-Ukraine war in 24 hours. None of that means anything to you.
No, I mean, if the guy was able to do that, he would have stopped it from happening while he was in office. And he didn't get the annexing of Crimea undone when he was in office. He's full of shit. You know what I mean? Everything the guy says is a big bowl of shit. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
I'm still laughing at your answer. We were talking about Danielle Perry. And
Yeah.
we'll go because obviously we know where you stand on the political question. But Danielle Perry, did you hear about the story of him choking out Jordan Neely on the subway in New York?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I know all about it. The guy was yelling at people, asking for food, asking for water, and then he passes by this Marine. The Marine didn't like him, so he choked him to death.
So do you believe he tried to do that intentionally? Actually tried to take his life?
Sure, yeah, you don't keep somebody in a chokehold for 15 minutes unless you're trying to kill them.
So if
I
you're
mean,
trying to
that's an
take his
obvious question.
so yeah, but if what you're saying is true, then we're not looking at manslaughter. We're looking at homicide.
Yeah, but the problem is you're probably not going to be able to get a murder charge. Murder charges are very hard to get because the standard is much higher than manslaughter. So if they're able to get the guy with manslaughter, more power to him. But he is a fucking murderer.
Yeah. And let me ask it to you this way. Do you think there's any racial element at all to this? Yeah,
Sure, he
sure.
choked the
Thank
guy
you.
out because he was black.
Wait. Say
Yeah,
that again.
absolutely. He choked a guy out because if it was a white dude running around, he wouldn't have even choked him. He choked him because he was black and he was
What makes you
loud and
think
he thought he could get it done and he did it.
what makes you believe that he did this to the individual strictly because of his skin color?
Because our society makes it okay. Our society, via the police, via all kinds of different situations, tell us that black bodies don't matter.
Mm. So you do believe that systemic racism is alive and well in 2023?
Oh yeah, of course. MAGA is a huge part of it. You guys are like the on-bringers of it, right? You're the fascists, and you're his little army. You're his little racist army who's gonna fight for that orange idiot, no matter who he sexually assaults, right? No matter how many fascist coups he tries to do, no matter how many lies he tells you, no matter how many money scams, how much money he cons out of you. You morons will go along with him because you're
But
morons.
but you just started the conversation out by admitting you're voting for you would support the corporatist who's known for saying vote for me or you ain't black, the crime bill. You don't see that in President Biden? The
No, I
racism
mean the
portion?
dude will listen to me. If the dude gets voted out, he's going to leave without attempting to kill people, or I'm sorry, unalive people. Okay, that's
Yeah,
better than Trump. Okay,
yeah. But Trump claims that he didn't intend for that to happen and that the protesters took that upon themselves to commit those activities. So
intentions don't normally matter in a situation like that, right? I didn't intend to choke the guy for 15 minutes and have him die, but you know what he did? I didn't intend for that though.
yeah. So at the end of the day, think about it. President Trump could be our next commander in chief, though. Even though you're
Sure,
giving him all of these negative accolades, he could indeed be the next president.
yeah, sure he could. Yeah, any moron can get in office now that he's been put in office. Any moron can be president now.
Wow. So you believe he's greatly reduced the standard of what a president actually is, then?
He is a lesser life form. He reduces the standard of humanity.
Damn. You don't take it easy on this guy at all, do you?
No, he's a scumbag, man, and the people who are with him, same, exactly the same.
So do you believe MAGA is inherently racist?
Yes, yeah, that's
Why?
their MO, my dude. The reason
Why?
they keep voting for Trump is not because they think the economy was better, because it wasn't. Okay, you can look at the poverty levels. Okay, it just keeps getting worse. Okay, the wealth inequality keeps getting worse. It didn't get better under Trump. You have a bunch of jackasses who want him to go after minorities, who want him to stop abortion because they're religious lunatics. Even though he said take the guns first and then look later,
Yeah.
they'll still think that he wants to have the guns everywhere. You know, these people are not smart people, right? They want to hate on people. They want
But I
society to be
gotta
as it
give
was in the
you a
1950s, okay?
Yeah, but I gotta give you an actual election fact in Trump's favor. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. 800 plus of you folks in here. Get your boy up to 50,000 likes. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Now, in the 2020 election, Trump received more of the African American vote than
Mm,
Bush, Reagan, and most of the Republicans are in our lifetime. If he is as bad
yeah,
as you're saying, why did
yeah.
that happen?
You know who he didn't get more than, though?
Who?
Guess who he didn't get more than? Biden. And that's
Yeah,
what
that's true.
mattered, right? Because that's who he had to beat, okay? So it doesn't matter that he got more of the black vote than any of those other morons. He didn't get more votes than Biden. And that's who he needed to get more of the black community from. And he didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, but at the end of the day, I mean, for some reason, Trump is acquiring more African American votes. And I do see Heather in there with the fuck your feelings icons there. But so, I mean, why is his voting total among African Americans increasing? Even though Biden got more, it does appear as if more of the minority crowd is going to Trump. If he's as bad
Yeah.
as you say he is, what's causing more minorities to go his way?
Oh, Biden's not living up to the promises he made before he got in office, right? Biden promised to do a lot for the black community. So far, I haven't seen any action for the black community on his part. That's why he's losing people, man. If you don't keep your promises, people will go the other way. They only have two choices, right? It's either
Right.
Trump or Biden. So
Yeah.
if one's not making good on their promises, Americans have a very short memory, my dude. They'll go back to the other one.
Yeah, which is the question I just asked originally. If something happened with your candidate of choice, would you switch? Now you made it clear you would not, you would not
No,
entertain it, but yeah, I
no.
mean you're
I
pointing out
am
that.
I am Jewish. I will never vote for a fascist. I will do everything within my power to keep fascists from taking over this country because I know what happens when fascists get into power.
Well, being Jewish, do you see any issues toward your community from MAGA?
I see a lot of my community very against MAGA. We took out your boy Kanye, right? We put him in the blocker and he shut the hell up,
Kan-
right? Don't go
Kanye
against
took
us. We'll get you.
Kanye took out his damn self. Kanye is a fool. So, but
Dude,
I
I'll tell
get
you
your
right
point.
now. One thing he said that's true about the Jewish community: if you go against us, you'll have our whole community coming after you. All right?
Mm. Nothing
There
wrong
will
with
be no
unity.
World War II situation again. We won't tolerate it. Y'all come after us, it's going to be a very different story this time.
Well, don't invite none of my guests. There are people listening that might take you up on that shit. Move. I gotta move it on.
Have
Appreciate
a
you
good one,
coming
my
through.
dude.
Hey, absolutely, absolutely. Tough today. Tough crowd. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000 likes. Almost 1,000 of us in here. You could be anywhere you want to be on TikTok. Always an honor to have you here with yours truly. As always, I don't block, ban, or censor anyone in this MAGA-friendly environment. It is always MAGA that are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome too. You hear folks in the audience, folks in the box, and always, you never on this program have to agree with the host. You won't be blocked. You won't be censored. Your time in the box will never be limited simply because you don't agree with the host. We don't do that here. First Amendment free speech rights in this program always rule. All right, looking in the comments. Sith, thank you for the rose. I'm liberal and I'm half cool with Trump. What is half cool? Appreciate the heart there, Gabe. Thank you. I've been waiting whole stream, says Lock Talks. Well, let's make Lock Talks come in next. I appreciate that. Lock Talks. I'm trying. As for some reason, I will apologize for the fact that TikTok moves your names around. So if I, damn, happy Friday, God, thank you. I can't control, like, I don't always remember because the conversations often feature very passionate guests on their opinions, and I'm trying to remain focused. But TikTok moves your names around in the waiting pool. So if I don't get you in order, I do apologize. Lock Talks, good afternoon, and appreciate that TikTok cap. I think that was Steve. Who is it? I didn't see him. Go ahead, Lock Talks. Asking a question. Would you be willing to support the other side if your candidate was corrupt in your true opinion?
Well, yeah, I think, that's an interesting question, but, it's just both sides are obviously corrupt. What I thought was more interesting was that Marine question. That's what actually brought me up here.
Let's go with
So,
it.
like, we had a lot of the people are like the last guest, they see a white guy do something to a black person. 100% they'll write it off racist, and there is not one thing in their mind, even if there was 100% video evidence showing that this guy was in the right. Tons and tons of people would come out here and scream racist, scream murderer. Like, it is what it
Yeah.
is. So, to me, that guy is more of a hero than anything. That guy, Jordan Neely, was running around New York City. He was prosecuted 40 times, okay? Multiple of those included punching women in the back of the head on subway stands or whatever it's called, the platforms. And women, you can't be punching them in the back of the head. They're some of the most vulnerable people out there. And then you have
Do you
prosecutors.
think women who have worked hard to maintain their place in society would agree with you that they are some of the most vulnerable people out there?
Well, when it comes to like violent extremism, yeah, I mean, you can't. When it comes to like a man attacking someone as delicate as a woman, there's really no help when it comes to like, you're going to need another man to step in there and help him. Like if there's a bunch of violent mobs attacking a woman, like, that's a vulnerable,
Okay.
despicable act. That's why we send our men in the war. We don't
Yeah,
send
but
our
what
women to
about,
war.
okay, so let me ask you this in regards to this guy being arrested 40 times, certainly being arrested for violently attacking a female in the past. Do you fall under the category of, say, Charles Bronson in Death Wish, where you are a fan of vigilante justice? If you take a bad guy out, bad guy deserved it. Like, say, for instance, I go out and rob a bank today, and I escape and move to Dallas, and all of a sudden somebody in Dallas just kills me. Do you think it was deserved because of what I did in the previous location? Vigilante justice.
Okay, yeah, so it's not even that. It's when you have it's the justice system failing time and time and again, failing to protect the city. Someone's going to have to step up. And what was it? It was a Marine who obviously, I'm not a big fan of the military, but the idea is you put yourself before your country, you go and serve and you help the people. You come back, he has no support from the prosecution because what? This violent criminal has been attacking people over and over again. And what's their job? Is to get them out of the street, get them away from society so he doesn't harm anyone else. They fail time and time again because they blame things like mental health or drugs or racism. And then, no one sticks up for the guys like like the Marine who, have to foot the bill for
Yeah, but
people.
when you're talking about Daniel Perry, who took the life of Jordan Neely, and you're pointing out Jordan Neely's lengthy criminal history, did the Marine Daniel Perry even know about his history?
Regardless, everyone knows in New York City that criminals, you can do whatever you want. You loot a store, you'll be pretty much bailed out the next day by sometimes even politicians and
Yeah,
celebrities.
I get all of
But
that. I get
so when it comes
yeah.
down to it, does it matter if he knew that drug addict guy that took all of his clothes off, screaming, "I'm ready to go to jail today"? Do I know that he knew that he punched a woman in the back of the head? Honestly, it doesn't matter. The system has failed us. That person should have been in jail time and times again. And no one's here protecting people like me and that Marine that, anytime we do something wrong, we're automatically, racist, terrible.
Yeah,
But
but it sounds like you're promoting vigilante justice, though. You're making it sound like
it's not
because
it's not
Jordan.
vigilanteism when he's been arrested
Well,
40
listen to
times.
what you're saying. The system failed us, and Jordan Neely, who should have been in jail, was out on the street. So because the guy took out a bad guy, he is a hero. You're essentially saying that we'll give him a pass because he did what the system should have done. Isn't that vigilantism?
I do see why you say, I do kind of sound like the left here, where it's like, we don't need police. We need civilian intervention. Civilians can handle our own
No,
problems.
you
Police
sound like
only
a
come in.
vigilante. No,
No,
you
no, no.
sound like Charles Bronson in Death Wish. You sound like a vigilante.
Well, when it comes down to it, think about it. If you had a criminal that's running around your town and the police don't do anything, the government doesn't do anything, but he's causing crime, hurting people every day, are you a vigilante to stop him? No.
Yes, yes, you are a vigilante to stop him. If you got a person going around let's say for instance, you got somebody who was really abusing children, which is very popular to take out somebody that's taking the innocence of a child. But you take him out and he hasn't taken the innocence of your child or anybody you know, then yeah, it's vigilantism. I'm not saying maybe the guy isn't a bad guy, but if you take someone out that's done nothing to you at all, how is that not being a vigilante?
Okay, so there you go. There it is. This guy was not, he was accosted. He was locked in a train where a guy was screaming, I'm ready to go to jail tonight, ripped all of his clothes off. And, he subdued him for what, 3 minutes, and the guy died because he was weak?
No,
The guy
no,
died because
they're
he was
saying
weak. He
15
didn't die.
minutes.
No, no, no. The cops were there in 6. Mayor Adams even disputed the 15 number, so I've heard reports from 3 to 6 to 15. I know the 15 one isn't true. I'm pretty sure that guy died because he was weak and feeble, probably on drugs and homeless.
Well, you're kind of adding something when we start saying weak and feeble on drugs. But let's go with your math: 3 minutes, 6 minutes, something far less than 15. Let me ask you this: if you put someone in a chokehold, how long do you estimate it takes to make it a lethal maneuver? How long do you think it would need to take?
Okay, so I'm actually educated on this. Brain hypoxia kicks in about typically 5 minutes. So anything after 5 minutes, you start leading into hypoxia, and that's when the brain loses oxygen and it starts to actually die. So 5 minutes is the absolute max before you start getting into the realm of irreversible brain damage. So that's pretty
Could it
much
happen?
the scientific
Could it?
consensus.
If you put someone in a chokehold that's depriving them of oxygen, you can do that up to 5 minutes.
Scientifically, yes, but typically before any brain hypoxia kicks in, you can go 5 minutes without air. This is why we see people who receive CPR come back and they have no brain injuries long term.
Well, but if you receive CPR, wouldn't that mean you're dead?
Yeah, no. So there's plenty of people who have been dead unresponsive for 3, 4, 5 minutes even, and they've had no compressions, and they've been brought back, and they've had no
You're
brain
literally
injuries. Regardless,
talking about bringing the man back from the dead. You do realize what you're saying, right?
yeah, but they are bringing him back from the dead, and the point of the fact is the brain has no injury, is what I'm getting at. So you can be completely dead, have no air going to your brain, and then they can bring you back to life 5 minutes after the fact, and your brain could have no injury. That's what I was getting at. Obviously,
Well, the point I'm trying to make with you, I suppose, is if you choke me to the point where I need CPR, wouldn't that mean you effectively killed me?
the result of his actions were death. Is it killing? I guess he killed. It was his goal wasn't to kill him. His goal was to, subdue him and protect the other passengers on the train. He happened to die, in my view, probably because he was weak and homeless and not healthy and probably on drugs. But
you got to admit you're adding some things in there. There's no medical evidence to suggest he was weak. I mean, the
yeah,
guy's
there
on,
is.
on
He's
the
a
guy
homeless
is on.
guy. Do you think homeless
Okay,
people are medically fit?
I think
They have
there's
the
some
least
homeless people
access
out
to
there. I think there's some homeless people out there that could kick both of our asses combined. You don't know how long the guy's been homeless. First of all, second of all, there are plenty of videos showing this guy moonwalking and doing Michael Jackson dances. My old ass can't do anything that Michael Jackson used to do, and I'm not homeless at all. So I'm not going to assume he was weak just because he was homeless.
Well, okay, that could be fair. I guess to be homeless in New York City, it's really cold, and you might have to actually be strong. So, right off the weak thing, regardless, he probably died because he was homeless. They're definitely not the healthiest bunch.
So you don't think the choking took his life at all?
Choking, I mean, could have. Regardless, it doesn't matter. The guy deserved to be in prison long ago. There was no one here.
So basically, I just want to wrap it up before I move it on. You're essentially saying bad guy, good riddance. Am I summing it up properly?
I think everyone deserves the right to be, what's it called?
Alive?
No.
The right to be
Pedophiles should
alive?
be shot. Pedophiles should be shot, and we should be on a public display. And we should make sure that we show our children. So no, they don't deserve to be alive. But the point I was making, I think everyone deserves to see their day in court. They deserve representation. But when it comes down to it, that guy had 40 tries at it, and we were failed. And there was no one there to protect the women on that train, the children on that train. And who was? There was a hero Marine. He did the thing. It was unfortunate the guy died, but it is what it is. And now there's going to be white people screaming from the hills that guy was racist and he deserves to be in prison.
Why only white?
I don't know. Why is it always the white liberal women and guys like that? Your last guest, who was a white guy who was just screaming racism, and that guy's just crying about racial injustice, and it's always the white guy. It's never guys like you that are crying about it.
Well, I think the issue is a lot of it's hard to say it this way, but a lot of the issues concerning white males is based on ancestry. I understand it may be unfair, but let's just be honest. When you look at folks that are going after white males, it's based on what happened in the past, and it was that white males dominated everybody else, which is why you're bringing up white women even that are often on the other side, is because this one group of people was literally dominating, oppressing, and mistreating everybody. So unfortunately, the modern generation is being somehow forced to pay for the sins of the past. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just simply saying that is why white males get so much attention, and oftentimes mistreatment that they feel is because they're paying for the sins of the past.
Yeah, that's some sins of the father stuff right there. Obviously,
Yeah.
you're not for that, and like it's wrong. But it was not wrong for me to stand up and say, "Hey, that's terrible." And then there's tons of people who come out of the woodworks and say, "You're a racist. You're terrible for even defending that." When you ask black people, they'll say like, "Hey, what do you think about white people like pretty much going extinct on a global level?" They'll laugh and cheer and celebrate that the white population is shrinking and that there might not be, the global population of white people is 8%. So like, and when
Well, it ain't that white people are being murdered. It's not that white people are not having children. Your women like us. That's a problem. You guys have an internal issue. Your women like us. So you folks are coming out brown because your women are like, nah, I want to go over here somewhere. If you want to make sure your population continues on, go holler at your women. Because your women are liking us, and that's where this shit is coming from. I gotta
Well,
move it on, though,
it's
Lockjaw. I give you the
that's
last
not
word.
necessarily true. The birth rate between Spanish people and American women, they breed at like 1.3 times the rate. So you sure like
We breed with
interracial.
white women. We also are breeding with white women.
Yeah, when it
Okay,
comes down to it, Americans are not as fertile as these indigenous cultures that are moving here. When it comes down to it,
okay. Fair enough. Come on
scientifically,
back.
that's all I was
Come
gonna
on
say.
back to Live Talks.
Have a good day.
Always a good talk. Really good talk. All right, looking in the comment. Most crime in America is black on black crime. I can't disagree with that, but I will say from a standpoint of the petty crime is where African American crime is very prominent. White collar crime and a lot of the shit that you can get away with is where the black crime on black on black crime does not exist. In other words, so but yeah, I don't disagree that the petty level state crimes, murders, robberies, and things like that, it's mostly minorities. It really is. I would be, I would be coming at you from a dishonest standpoint if I didn't admit that. I'm a South Side of Chicago native, and there's a lot of crime where I'm from. All right, looking in the comments. Choking past consciousness, anyone can die. That is true. And the 5 minute thing, that's a long ass time. Now, my last caller said it wasn't 15 minutes, it was only 5 or 3 or 6. All of that's a long time. When you start being deprived of oxygen, the moment from conscious to unconscious comes fast. Oxygen is something you can't go without for very long, particularly if you really need it. It goes, yeah, it's pretty quick. 15, if it was 15 minutes, yeah, that's exceptionally egregious. Hopefully it's not. Going back to the box, tap your screen, get your boy up to 80,000 likes. I appreciate you folks rolling with me on this kind of somewhat late live program. Is it always will remain MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We'll keep it moving with the one and only Andy. Good afternoon. And welcome back, Andy. What do you think? You think choking a guy out in self-defense, you think that's possible?
No, I think that that's a crime. And I don't think PTSD is an excuse. It's a diagnosis.
Yeah. Well, he's not even claiming PTSD. He's claiming self-defense.
Well, my mother was unalived by her husband. So I know that to get the criminal murder charge, it has to be premeditated. Anything
Okay.
after that is a form of manslaughter or,
Yeah, and I will say, unlike would say George Zimmerman in the death of Trayvon Martin, or in the case of Cal Rittenhouse or some of these other cases where they were trying to go at somebody for something, they didn't over or improperly charge this guy Daniel Perry. Now I think Cal Rittenhouse was self-defense, but George Zimmerman was clearly a
well, you
case of
and I
murder.
disagree on that because Kyle didn't have to be there. He chose to be there.
That
When
is
you
true.
buy a weapon and you go choose to put yourself out there, and then you use the excuse that these people had crimes in their past that you knew nothing about, I'm sorry, you should have stayed home. That is not a self defense or a castle, defending the castle
Here's
charge.
where I disagree. Here's where I disagree. When you got a guy, okay, if I'm walking around with a rifle, even though I've done something idiotic and put myself in the middle of a Kenosha riot that I have no business being there, if you come running up at me like Rosenbaum was actually chasing him around, you're in danger. And that's not even taken into consideration when fell on the ground and the other two guys, once hitting him with a skateboard, the other guy who lost his bicep actually had a weapon. Those guys meant great bodily harm to Kyle Rittenhouse, even though he was dumb enough to put himself there. That doesn't mean he deserved to die for making a dumb mistake. You don't think he deserved to die, do you?
Well, my problem with that is he could have stayed home, and the
We
people
get
he
that.
went down there to meet, you know, they talked about the people he was there to meet, and it seemed like he was there to meet the Oath Keepers or the Proud Boys. So in my mind, he had no business being there. That's his own fault. We need to
I don't
start taking
I don't
responsibility for
disagree.
things in our country that are our fault.
Yeah, but I agree with you 100%. He put himself in a precarious position deliberately. Where we disagree is that means he deserved to lose his life. I don't believe that if you do something, hell, even if you go trespass on, let's say you go to Best Buy after they're closed and you're in the parking lot and you've already been trespassed. I don't think that means you deserve to be killed for it. I mean,
No, I
you're
don't
putting
think
yourself so.
anybody in America should be judge, jury, and executioner. That's my whole point. We walk around here thinking we are the justice system, and we're not. We
Yeah,
have
I
that put
agree
into
with that
place.
part. I agree with that part, but when I look at the evidence that came out on Kyle Rittenhouse, it's pretty clear that if he didn't take some lives, he probably would have been on the front of an obituary cover. I definitely believe
My
what
issue is
happened.
also his age and how he got the weapon, how he crossed state lines.
We can debate all of
So,
that. All of that is a worthy debate. But at the end of the day, if he didn't take their lives, he would have been in trouble. That part I believe. All the rest of it, I'm not disagreeing with you on.
and it
But if
bugs
he
the
didn't,
ever loving mess out of me that they keep saying that they find out these people's records after they commit the crime, but they don't know them before, and they use that as a defense. That is not a defense.
yeah. Now, in that case, I totally agree. And in regards to Daniel Perry choking out Jordan Neely, and like my last caller brought up that Jordan Neely had 40 arrests and things like that, and suggesting that this guy's a hero. The guy didn't know any of that when he took his life, when he choked him out intentionally or otherwise. He didn't know anything about the 40 arrests before. Very similar to George Floyd. Derek Chauvin didn't know anything about his prior criminal history. So
And
yeah,
see,
you don't get. Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
that's the same thing. I think they
Yeah.
committed the same crime, and they should both get the same sentence. And they
I
should put him
don't.
in jail pop, as a matter of fact.
Here's where I tend to disagree slightly. Even though I do believe Daniel Perry should be held accountable for taking someone's life, accidental or not. I think the case of Derek Chauvin with George Floyd was even more egregious because
I
you
do.
got audience and everybody telling you need to get up off the guy. The guy's dying. You hear George Floyd begging for his mom and things. I think George Floyd's case is even worse,
You're right.
particularly when you see the ambulance paramedics get there, and even they had to ask Derek Chauvin, "Could you get off the dude's neck?" Like he had to be asked by the paramedics to get off of the guy. So yeah, I think Derek Chauvin's case is even worse.
Well, see, I live in a state that just went to constitutional carry, so I'm really against people being judge, jury, and executioner
So am I.
because
So
I
am I.
see this is going to become an issue. I mean, my state is the third most dangerous in the country. Alabama has moved to third.
Mm.
Birmingham
Really?
is the third most dangerous city. Mobile is the second most dangerous city per capita.
My beloved MAGA would tell you it's Chicago. You telling me Birmingham is getting down
Per
more than
capita.
Chicago?
Do they know what per capita means?
No, they don't. They believe Chicago is Beirut.
Well, I would suggest they do a little. Look,
Yeah.
y'all can say what y'all want to about Alabama and the banjo, but we have some of the best restaurants, some of the most beautiful scenery, and some of the most beautiful beaches. So save it.
How do you get down in Alabama? You don't sound like MAGA. You're in a blood red state. How do you get down there? How do
I
you
speak
navigate in
openly
there?
and proudly, and you ought to see my Facebook post. They hate me. I don't even care.
Ain't nobody hating on nobody in Alabama, is it? There's no hatred in
Shoot, they
Alabama, is
live
it?
on it. It is food for them down here. Our school
Mm,
systems are the worst. KIB just found $2 billion in the education fund. You think she's spending on education? No.
mm.
She got 400 million from the COVID people. You think she spent that on the education? Nope. She spent that on for-profit prisons. Our prisons literally were about to be taken over by the federal government when Jeff Sessions became AG and made that go away. We have prisoners starving to death. We have them sitting up there literally protesting, and we have them packed five to a cell. That's not even humane.
Wow. 5 to a cell?
Yep.
You
And they
might bust
wonder why they
somebody's
have violence up there.
with 5 to a cell, you might bust somebody's booty by accident. I can't move around. That is
Well, they have that
crazy.
stay in G for the stay. They don't have a problem with it when they're locked up. Just when they get out and see somebody wearing a dress. I'm just saying.
5 to a cell. That's a really good point. Say that again. When they get out, say that point again. I just heard that.
A lot of them are fine with being gay for the stay, but the minute they get out, they got a problem with somebody wearing a dress. Make that make sense.
It does not. It does not. But with a female governor, now your state is very pro-life, right?
And she's gay. She ain't gonna come out, but she gay.
You believe a Republican governor of a blood red state like Alabama is part of the LGBT community?
Yeah, go look it up.
I would love to
Ain't
see
she
that.
trying to pass an anti-drag bill? Wearing a pantsuit that looks like a seersucker leisure suit from the 70s. She in violation of her own law before she even gets it passed.
Damn. Well, Hillary Clinton was known for pantsuits. I don't think Hillary Clinton is
Oh,
gay.
wait till you see KIV. No, wait till you see this woman. You will understand completely.
Wow. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. I don't, she doesn't make the national news as much.
No, because
Certainly
everybody
with
assumes Alabama's a piece of crap. Because we passed the first abortion bill that didn't have
any
anything
incest
but the life of the
provisions.
mother. And
Wow.
if you are a doctor in Alabama and you give somebody an abortion, you gonna get uh you're eligible for unaliving penalty.
Let me ask you. Well, I know you guys got Georgia next to you, but I wanted to ask that question because I often get folks on here. It's not about federal. It's just about returning the rights back to the state. If you're in, say, Mobile, Alabama, all the way down in southern Alabama, and you want to have a pregnancy termination, and obviously you got to go to a different state. How far would you have to go? Like, what's the nearest state to Alabama that would allow you to terminate a baby?
I don't know, because we got Georgia on one side, we got Mississippi on the other, we got Florida below us and Tennessee above us. So more than one,
Yeah, because you got
two in
Mississippi.
some cases.
Yeah, heading west is
Not Florida.
Mississippi,
Florida went down to 6 weeks.
Louisiana. Yeah, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. I guess New Mexico. Heading west.
It ain't Missouri. I mean,
Yeah.
but
I
one
just
of the
wanted to
younger
bring that.
women can go get one right now and they don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because people often say, well, it's not like you can't do it. Just go somewhere else where you can. And I'm like, some folks don't realize how far you have to go. If you're in Mobile, Alabama, you're going to drive probably about 1,000 miles. I mean, it's not
Um,
close. It's
I
just
want to
not very
address
close.
that abortion is not the M word, because you know how many women are going to pass away from a miscarriage in these states, because 15 to 20% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage, and these doctors are going to be too afraid to help these women because they don't want to face so the unaliving sentence. They're not going to help those women, and those could be your sister, your mother, your daughter. So y'all can keep yelling it's the M word, but you are sentencing women who just want to have babies, who have miscarriages, to being unalive. So congratulations, folks. Y'all are
Mm.
real heroes.
It's gonna have to be readdressed in the future. I gotta move it on, but yeah, the same reasons for why Roe versus Wade became available for why you could terminate a pregnancy, because most of America's history, abortion was illegal. There's a reason why it became legal. Those reasons why they made it legal still exist. So going backwards are going to bring all those reasons back up. Appreciate you coming in, Andy. Talk to
Thank
you on
you.
the next one. Absolute, absolute. All right, looking at comments. It's not a form of birth control, says Rep 1987. Well, I'm hearing rumors that folks on the right don't even want birth control to be legal. Hopefully that's wrong, but I am hearing folks say that. She's real. I like her. It's very true, says Kimberly Cook. Yeah. And you're a real hero supporter. Women unaliving their children, says Lala. Well, I got to ask this question. Now, right now, we got chaos at the southern border. No denying. There is chaos at the southern border with the COVID provisions being rescinded as of today. Many folks would suggest we can't take all these people in because we don't have the resources, we don't have jobs, things like that, including welfare, food stamps, whatever the hell entitlements you want to bring up. So it makes me follow up when I hear folks on the right suggest that. Why, if we are short on entitlements in government assistance resources, would anyone propose an abortion ban in this climate? 500 to 750,000 pregnancy terminations every year in America. If you ban abortion and you all of a sudden start causing a production of literally hundreds of thousands of unwanted children, who's going to pay for them? It's going to be a problem, folks, regardless if you are pro-life, pro-choice, or whatever. If all of a sudden the law forces a hell of a lot of unwanted children to be produced, you think these folks are going to just turn into Mother of the Year? No. The system is going to have to seriously step up its game in an environment where we want the system to be out of the picture. It's going to be interesting. All right, looking in the comments. Keep your pants on, says Carrie. Yeah, obviously sexual responsibility is a topic for fodder, but as folks say in the gun debate conversations, you cannot legislate morality. Or as some of my redneck friends would say, you can't fix stupid. If a person likes to have unprotected sex, you can't pass some damn law and expect that to stop. When you really think about it, Catholic priests thought they were going to go to hell and they couldn't stop fucking. You think somebody in the hood or somebody in a trailer park is going to do otherwise? Catholic priests thought they were actually going to go to hell and they couldn't stop fucking. So good luck with that. All right, going back to the box. 52 cents. Good afternoon. Welcome back to the program. 52. If TikTok lets them on. There we go. 52 cents. I'm going to just
Hello, young man.
Good afternoon.
That last girl, her nickname's Massengill. I think she's a douche.
Oh, my God. What? What did my last caller say that would lead you to say something like that?
First of all, saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was the problem, bullshit. Second of all, I want to ask you a question. Were you in the military?
No.
Okay, but you work a job with how many guys? 100 guys there on a shift?
Yeah, I work in one of the city's biggest hospitals, so I'm around a lot of women, but guys too. Yeah, I don't know how many.
Okay, I'm gonna use a hospital as an example. All right, there's 15 of you sitting in a room, and a doctor comes in and says, I need somebody to come help me with this. Who's going to volunteer? So, handsome liberal raises his hand. Doc, I'll help you out. Well, something goes wrong and the patient dies because you made a mistake. Now, there was 15 guys in that room that could have stepped up. You were the one guy that stepped up, but you made a mistake. Do you deserve to be prosecuted? You were the only guy in that room willing to help. You were the only guy that put yourself on the line and said, okay, I'm going to do something. And something went wrong. Now you're the bad guy.
Let me respond to that. I get your point. Now, my rebuttal to that would be, if I stepped up and assisted a physician and I made a mistake that led to the death of that patient, the first thing has to be asked, did he know ahead of time that the mistake he was making could be lethal? If a doctor asked me to hold a scalpel or something like that and I'm a total layman, that's one thing. But if I'm a nurse or I'm a CNA or an LPN and I hold a scalpel and deliberately put a big ass incision across somebody's neck or something like that, my medical certification should have told me, and you know that ain't a mistake. You knew what you was doing could be lethal. We're debating a 15-minute chokehold by a Marine veteran. Is that a mistake to the point where this guy did not know you could take a life?
How many people were on that train?
I don't know the actual number. I know there was at least 3 of them holding this guy down.
All right, so you got 3 holding him down. You probably had 25 people saying that train car. That seems like a fair number. 25 people riding a
Okay.
train.
All
Okay,
right.
out of the 24, one was the bad guy, so you got 24 left. One guy stepped up initially to try to stop this guy from harming the other people. So 23 other people were affected. You got the bad guy, you got the guy that stepped up and tried to help. 23
Okay.
other people were potentially saved because of the actions of the one guy and the loss of the one guy. So the loss of one guy potentially saved 23 other people.
But he saved them from a guy who was yelling at folks and asking for money. We have to question whether the guy who's now deceased actually presented a picture of lethality. And the guy who took the picture of him being choked out stated that he hadn't put his hands on anybody.
Tim, if I hop in your car, start asking you for money and taking my clothes off, what you gonna do?
Get the fuck out of the car.
I mean, what you gonna do? You gonna give me a hug?
Don't do that. Okay, that's it. Don't jump in my car and pull your dick out. No, the thing about it is you're on public transportation. Any of us who grew up in metropolitan areas, Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, I grew up riding the subway as a child. Crazy folks get on the subway all the time. I remember being a kid, a dude got on wearing a feather hat and butt ass naked. Nobody choked him out. If you ride the subway regularly in Chicago, people ask you for money and do dumb, crazy shit all the time. You can't kill the person, right?
But you walk up and ask for money. Yeah, it was an aggressive statement, but you weren't posing harm. But if you're running around threatening, I don't care if I die, I don't care if I get arrested,
You
the
still
guy
get
was off
murdered.
the rail.
Yeah, but at some point, even if you do believe you're acting in self-defense, at some point you do realize you got to let his neck go. Same thing with Derek Chauvin, with George Floyd. Okay, he's resisting arrest, he's struggling. Okay, you have to subdue him, but at some point you got to remove the restraint. I mean, how
Yeah,
long do you get to hold this guy by the neck in suggested self-defense?
fear and adrenaline are mean things in a crisis.
Yeah, it can lead to manslaughter.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I
But
mean, go ahead.
but how how much liability can you put on the one guy that sacrificed himself to protect everybody there?
I don't see one dude with somebody in a chokehold with other assistants helping hold his legs. I don't see the sacrifice. I think this guy was easily subdued and had no chance. I mean, you got 3-on-1 and they got him in a headlock. Ain't nobody's life in danger at that point. I just don't see the. I could see having to stop him if he's hitting somebody and punch him in the face a couple of times, throw him to the ground or whatever. But once you got multiple guys on one man, why not flip him over, sit on his ass or something like that? You're holding him in a headlock while the train is going past. I mean, I don't know. 15 minutes seemed like it would be going past actual stops. But you can't hold somebody in a headlock until the police arrive. You're going to kill that person.
Well, he quit yelling about wanting money, didn't he?
Quit yelling about wanting to breathe. You took his life. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's manslaughter at that point.
It's like these idiots that go out in the middle of the road and people run them over. Sorry about your luck, dude. Get out the fucking road.
You're,
No. We
are
don't
you
have room for that shit.
are you suggesting that if a protester is in the street blocking traffic and gets ran over, you're okay with that?
Oops. 100%.
52, 52.
110% on a leap year.
So if all of a sudden, with all of those protesters in Washington on January 6th, really blocking the flow of Congress, if they had came out and shot them all, you'd have been okay with that.
If they were threatening them, yes. If they were
Oh, so
standing in
now
the
they got to
road,
be
run their ass
threatening.
over. If they're
Wait a
on the
minute.
road, run their ass over.
Wait a minute. So you can't block traffic, but it's okay to block Congress.
They have tunnels. They escaped. And they were let in peacefully by the Capitol Police. They might as well have sent out invitations, for God's sakes.
But if they got tunnels and they can escape, can't you simply take a different street? You can escape too as a driver.
Not if traffic's behind you, you can't.
You can't murder people, 52. You can't
It's
be
not
in
murder.
favor of this. Huh?
That's not murder. That's saving the highway department money on speed bumps.
I gotta go.
That's
52.
that's cost saving.
All right. I gotta move it on, 52. You know you never disappoint. Come on back anytime, man.
Love you, brother.
Absolute, absolute. Folks, I always make it clear. I mean, me and 52 go way back, so obviously, right away, it doesn't matter if you agree with the host or not. I make that clear. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly. Obviously, me and the last guest did not agree. We don't agree on anything. He leans right, I lean left. But anyone, regardless of opinion, is always welcome on the program. I don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. I'm not the free speech god. I'm not the one who would ever suggest that my opinion, my level of speech is superior to yours, therefore you have no right to speak. I don't support anyone doing that on any platform. So when you're on my platform, I damn sure will never do it. So regardless if you agree with the host or not, doesn't mean anything on this program. We try to make sure everyone gets their say because everyone deserves it. All right, looking in the comments. He just showed me why I'm not voting right ever again, says Andy. A lot of folks say that. Protecting criminals over the victim is dead wrong. Rep 1987, you're going to get that aspect if the person that took the life did not know they were taking the life of a criminal. Yelling at folks on a subway train and asking for money, what is that, loitering? Loitering at best? You can't take somebody's life for that. Now, he didn't know about the 40 prior arrests. That person didn't know that. J&J, yeah! Appreciate the hat and mustache. Mental health is real. That is true. Who's the criminal? Well, they're alluding to Jordan Neely, the deceased, being the criminal. 44 prior, says dude. Yeah, but the person who took his life, the Marine, didn't know about the 44 priors. You can't go take someone's life, then go digging through their criminal history and use that as an excuse retroactively for what you just did. What we're talking about, the 44 priors, the long criminal history of George Floyd, the fact that Trayvon Martin smoked weed, that's often referred to as dirtying someone up. When you get caught fucking up, find something, because if you can show this person was a bad guy, there's going to be a far more people that think, well, maybe society is better off with this individual gone. And I'm talking to folks in this audience right now that feel that way. If I can find reasons to suggest this individual was bad for society, then taking this person's life won't be viewed as bad. That's why you often hear, anytime the police screw up, they go through the history of the deceased with a fine-tooth comb in effort to dirty them up. Because a huge portion of our population will then say, okay, then maybe it wasn't that bad. You took out a bad guy. Even though the cop may have knew nothing about anything and did it all retroactively. That's vigilante justice. Going back to the box. Appreciate you folks holding on. We'll keep it moving with Lewis Clyde. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Lewis Clyde. if it lets you in. But they don't feel the same about Trump and his dirty laundry. No, it's a little different when it comes to Trump. There's some racial element. Now, I'm not saying that Daniel Perry, while choking out Jordan Neely, I'm not going to go in advance and say that was racism. I don't see it. However, I do believe the racism in this case is coming from the spectators. What I mean is this. If you take the life of an African American or someone supporting African American causes, there is an audience that will champion you for what you're doing. There is an audience. I'm not going to pretend like racism does not go both ways, but simply put, if an African American or someone promoting African American causes lose their lives, there is an audience that will champion that, such as some of the recent unalivings of white Black Lives Matter supporters. There's an audience for it. When Kyle Rittenhouse took the life of those folks, and I do believe Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense, who's the first people that came to his aid? People who do not like Black Lives Matter. People who despise Black Lives Matter. He had really scored one for them. There is a group of people that champion you for doing that. Same thing down in Austin, Texas, where the individual, a white guy, took the life of another white guy that was a Black Lives Matter protester. There's a hell of a lot of people, including the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, that's offering to pardon the guy for doing it. There is an audience for that. And that audience has always been that way. Even if you go back in time, generations back, if you were a white person walking down the street with Martin Luther King, you qualified. That still exists. I mean, we can talk about racism going either way, but that does still exist, which is why a lot of these folks, George Zimmerman, look at all of the money that came to George Zimmerman. Where do you think that money was coming from? Think about that. Think about that. That money didn't come from nowhere. A hell of a lot of money was donated to his defense. Going back to the bots. Somebody said, who cares? Faceless American. Good afternoon to the program. Faceless American.
Dun, dun, dun. It is the
Hey,
worst.
is it about to be that bad?
Worst conservative ever. How's it going, man?
Before you get into the game, folks, tap the screen. Let's see if we can make 100,000 likes happen. Show your boys some love. MAGA-friendly program all day, every day for eternity, but liberals are welcome as well. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 100,000. Talk to me faceless. What's going on?
How's it going, man? Not much. Yeah, I don't know, man. That whole choke out thing, that's too volatile for me to even think about, because no matter what anybody says, somebody's going to get pissed. I don't know.
But that's what
You've
we're
seen
here
kind of
for.
the meltdown that's not been going through. Yeah, you know, there's a point when it gets to be too much. And I don't disagree with the fact that he should have been more aware of what he was doing. He's he's trained in that. You know
I'm not trained in it at all, but let me interrupt you. I'm not trained in it at all, but not only are we talking 15 minutes, but at some point, it seemed like you would notice the individual's no longer struggling.
Yeah. There's a definite sign that there's no movement usually means something, whether they're unconscious or possibly unalive.
A sign.
You got a 50-50 shot of it's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, there's a sign. There's a sign you're still restraining a dead man.
Yeah. It's it's ridiculous. But I don't know, man. I just the thing that you were saying earlier about everybody. I hate this because I'm gonna agree with you. And
Listen, let me interrupt you and just say this. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. I'm not going
honestly,
to.
I think that he should stand.
Wait, hold on, hang on. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not going to censor your opinion, no matter what side you come at it from. State your case. What do you think?
I definitely think that there should be a jury of his peers.
Okay.
I think that should be done. The evidence should be shown. In any court trial that you go to, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to dig dirt up on both parts. the
Right.
deceased or the
Right.
living. That's pretty much par for the course in the legal system.
But you said
So,
a jury of his peers, so that means you do agree he should be charged. You're not going to face the jury unless you're charged with a crime.
right, right,
So you
right.
do believe
Just
he
like
should be
Kyle
charged.
Rittenhouse. I believe that he should stand trial, yes.
Okay,
That
that's what we're
way
talking
it clears it up. But I believe that would clear it up. That way, if but you have to respect what the jury comes up with.
True.
And,
That is absolutely true.
so it's there's no middle ground. The jury comes
Yeah.
up with it. That's what they do. If you don't like it, then you appeal it. That's what the legal system is for. And I
Let me
don't
ask
like
you
the legal
this.
system, but
Let me ask you this. If
hopefully,
you were, let's say you're on a jury and the prosecutors basically go and dig up his military records and they can show where he received hand-to-hand combat and was actually educated on what a chokehold could do. Would that mean anything to you if you were on a jury?
well, I believe it was the hammer hold or the hammer choke that he used, right?
It looks like I don't know the
That's kind
types
of.
of chokeholds. Go ahead.
I mean, I haven't really watched it, but from what I have seen, it looks like the hammer choke. I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
And so my friends
Hand
who are
on top of the
Marines,
head. Yeah, hand on top of the head.
they they've done that. I've seen them do stuff like that before, just fucking around. They
For that length of time?
no, but they would knock each other out at times. Yeah, you had a few beers and you get a little.
Well, you gotta admit if you choke someone to the point of unconsciousness, you need to start doing things at that point to revive the person. Otherwise, the hourglass is losing sand really quick. So if you
Right,
15 minutes,
right.
you're well past the point of consciousness and you've done nothing. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If they went and found his
Well,
military training, would that mean anything to you if you were sitting on the
well,
jury?
he's gonna have that. He's gonna have that training. He'll have that training. It'll show. If he's a Marine, he's got that training. I can almost guarantee it. But I mean, my friends aren't anything. They weren't sergeants or anything like that, and they had that training. They weren't special forces or anything. But they had that training.
Right.
Um,
So how do you do this by
so
accident?
I don't think that's. Pardon?
Then how do you choke
Well, the
someone out?
chokehold itself, I don't think. Well, you know
The
what the
time
goal
frame.
is. It's to render them incapacitated. But just like anything, I mean, there's different chokeholds you can do to people that they don't press on anything, but there's certain ones you do, and they press on the carotid artery. So, what does that do? That cuts the oxygen and the blood flow to the brain. The brain blacks out. They're done. They're passed out. And if you ever watch anybody who passes out, they tend to twitch. Some people dream. They have a quick dream while they. I've had them. You just kind of twitch a little bit, and then you get up and you're like, what the fuck was that about? But if you take it too far, then you're screwed.
Right.
Then you come out.
Let me ask it to you this way.
If you're lucky, you come out like Forrest Gump,
Jesus.
So,
Let me ask it to you this way. Let's say, for instance, you got an unruly person on the subway and you put them in a chokehold, but you're deliberately not putting pressure on the carotid artery. You just want to subdue them, as you stated. The person is wild and flailing around and going nuts. Now, you're trying not to kill him. You're just trying to subdue him. All of a sudden, the person stops flailing. Do you keep him in a chokehold?
I wouldn't, if possible, I wouldn't put him in a chokehold. I'd put him in a full Nelson with a leg. Because a full Nelson doesn't get you off, but it is to keep you from.
You're going in and out.
I thought from the video, I thought he was, from what I saw in the video, he was, behind him, doing the hold. He could have easily wrapped his legs around him and had him in a full Nelson.
Let's go with the
And the
full
full
Nelson.
Nelson, if done
Let's go
right,
with
is hard to get out of when you're on the ground.
Let's go with the full Nelson. You got a guy that's being belligerent. To subdue him, you put him in a full Nelson. He's struggling, trying to get out of it. After a certain period of time, he stops struggling. Do you keep him in a full Nelson?
The full Nelson, if done, it's not a kill. It's not anything that could
I'm
kill
not
him.
I'm not saying the guy is
I
dead
mean,
at
unless
all.
he
I'm
had a
just
heart
simply
attack.
yeah, I'm not saying the guy is deceased at all. I'm just
Is it
simply
just
saying,
me? Are you talking about like if it's me? If it's me and
yeah.
I've got 3 other guys that are helping restrain the guy, no, I would let him go because he's obviously given up or he's taking a breather. In which case, you got 3 other guys there to help you.
I
You
guess
know,
the point of yeah,
and
that's I guess the point I'm
I
trying to
can
make.
speak from
Go ahead.
I can speak from experience. If the person is jacked up, he's going on whatever he's got flowing through his system. I don't know if that was part of it or not. I think somebody said he was using something. I can speak from experience that certain
I haven't
drugs
heard of any
give people.
reports. Yeah, I haven't heard of any reports that he was
Yeah.
intoxicated, but that will
So
come out. The point I'm trying to make is this though.
people
Even if
get
you
freakish
had him, hang
strength.
on, hold on a second, hold on. The point I'm trying to make is I'm trying to ask you is this. Even if you put him in a non-lethal position, if he's struggling and suddenly stops struggling, even if he's alive, do you still keep him in this restrained position when you've already subdued him, he's
No,
no longer fighting,
he's
do you
obviously
keep him
worn
in that
out.
position? Huh?
No, he's obviously worn out, and you've got 3 other people besides yourself holding him down. So I mean,
Right.
if it takes a lot when you're fighting against somebody, and and I'm not talking about the guy trying to subdue him. I'm talking about the guy being subdued. That's a lot of energy to exert. If he's already jazzed up and he's been pacing and walking back and forth and doing whatever crap, he's burned a lot of energy. So if he quits, you can hold him down. You can restrain him
Yeah,
that
but
way. You can lay across him. You can do whatever. You can have guys hold his arms,
I
his
think,
legs.
yeah, I think by what you're saying though, you also are admitting that once a person is subdued, you should release your grasp, no matter if it's a full Nelson, no matter what you're doing. If your goal is to subdue them, once they are subdued and no longer struggling, you should let them out of whatever hold you have them in. If he kept this
Right.
guy held down for 15 minutes, it's pretty clear that he was going on with the hold long past this person struggling.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
So I
That's
mean,
what the problem is. Yeah, that's what the problem. All right,
but
faithless. I'll give you the last one. I do got to move it on. Go ahead.
yeah. I just I'd like to, and this isn't on any topic that we've covered here, but you've got a
Sure.
pretty good platform, and I'd like to tell people something. Stop being so angry about everything. We all spend so much time, waste so much energy hating each other because of a belief, because of a thought, because of a political party, because of a skin color, because of a religion. Life is too damn short to be pissed off every day. It's good to have discussions, it's good to have debates, but don't let yourself get so worked up over it that you have to scream and yell and call people names. And, take a breath, enjoy the life that you've been blessed with, enjoy the people that you have in your life, and just take the rest of the stuff in stride because life's too short to sweat the small shit.
Good statement.
Guess
I totally
that's
agree. Appreciate it, faithless.
so.
Come on back in.
As always, man. So,
Definitely a
have a good
pleasure.
one.
All right, you too.
Get in the comments. It's too late. These seeds have been planted. It's not too late. It's not too late for us to unite. We just need to have a legitimate cause to do so. I would submit to you, war tends to unite us. I mean, we were divided with George W. Bush right before 9/11. There are people who believed he should not have been the rightful president. The hanging chads, the 2000 election. After 9/11, we came together. Now, that's not to say that he didn't blow all of that shit by attacking the wrong country in regards to September 11th. And I'm not saying that as a liberal. Even President Trump believes the Iraq War was the dumbest thing in U.S. history. I think he even stated that. So, but there is possibilities to come together. The social issues are what separates us. But when we all feel our asses on the line, we do tend to come together. I do appreciate that heart that just popped up there. I didn't see who sent that, but definitely thank you. Looking in the comments, is it really hate of skin color that divides us? Not only skin color, but skin color certainly plays a part because of its historical overtones. But, I mean, hell, there's a hell of a lot of hatred toward the transgender community right now. Now, the problem with hatred that has always existed since the beginning of time is whoever is doing the hating generally denies it. I don't hate them. It's just this, or it's just that, or they're doing this. They're affecting the kids, or something of that nature. So it's really difficult to diagnose hatred because very few people ever admit it. They always deny it. I mean, if you look at the history of fear, somebody said fear, that's absolutely part of it. I fear that you're going to affect my children, or I fear you're going to come to my neighborhood and rob me, or I fear you're going to take my job. Fear is certainly a big selling point. Isn't Joe Biden, isn't he known for saying they're going to put y'all back in chains? That's a fear comment. Rapists and murderers are coming across the border. We're being invaded. Those are comments that invoke fear. I mean, when you think of a country getting invaded, you think of D-Day, or you think of something like Pearl Harbor. That's what an invasion looks like. Not somebody holding up a baby in a suitcase as they navigate through the Rio Grande. That's not an invasion, but that's how you use it to create that type of fear. And fear does cause all sorts of problems. Someone even suggested that Daniel Perry on the subway may have done that out of fear. Fear of an African American. I think it does. Didn't Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, well-known album back from the 1980s. Biden sold our documents to China. That could be an interesting topic in the future. We'll keep it moving. Takesha Blue, welcome to the program. Wow, so self-defense, holding a man down with the assistance of another, choked him out to the point where he was lifeless and now is deceased. Self-defense, what you think? What say you,
No,
Takesha?
no. I'm gonna tell you why I'm not gonna consider it self-defense, because, like you said, at the point when you saw him stop moving, the first thing you should have done was let go and try to give the man CPR. Then I would have looked at it as you're trying to really stop someone from doing something to other people. It became a crime when you kept the hold and rendered at that point that man's life was not worth saving or being on this planet, because he's a Marine. He's been trained. He knows exactly how long it takes before someone starts to go in, starts going out. So his adrenaline is not an excuse, because I want to give you an example. Some people like to be choked out during sex. Okay?
Yeah.
Your sex partner knows how far to go with that choking you while he's ramming his penis in and out and giving you this great loving. No, I'm being serious. I am being serious. The choking, by the time you see me roll my eyes back, release my neck.
You sound like you went from some people to my eyes. You want to
I'm
tell us
just
something?
don't listen to the my part. They know that release their neck. I'm just saying, when someone is no longer fighting or moaning or groaning, that it's time for you to let that hold go.
But I'm going to be. You want to be? If we want to be coming at it uncensored and raw, sometimes that dude trying to get that nut. I ain't got time to worry about if you moving or not.
Listen. You ain't gonna get that nut when I'm going out. You gonna know I'm holding this out for too long.
Well, it
And
just
let me
goes from
just
nut.
release.
It just goes from love making to necrophilia, but you still can get that nut.
Let me tell you something. You better let the net go, and just keep pounding away till you get it. What I'm saying is this: he knew, he knew that man was going out, and what he should have done, since he had help, was let that man go and try to give him some CPR. And the reason some people say it was based on race. If you think about it, and I'm not a race baiter, because I just don't do that. But had this had been a black Marine choking out a white man that was acting crazy on the subway, the first thing they would have said was, well, that man had mental health issues. There comes a point in life when a black man acts crazy or does something, it's always, let's go pull up what he did in his past.
Mm.
His picture is on the news 30 minutes after something has happened. When it's a white person, it's always, well, their parents said when they were small, they had anger issues and they know they should have gotten them help. And then here come the counselor. And then here comes the principal. And then here comes great grandma waking up out her grave to write a letter from the grave to give to the people for an excuse. And then it becomes, it's
Wow.
because of mental illness. So yes, people are going to look at it as a black and white. And then his picture may be put up a week later.
Yeah. So you think had this same event took place, but the roles of race were reversed, we would be treating it differently.
As I'm telling you, we would. I don't care what nobody says, and if they say they wouldn't, they're lying. They would be treating it totally different. Think about all the police that have not been charged for killing black people, but that one black cop who mistakenly shot that woman and shot that other lady in the alley that time. You know
You're
when
talking
they,
about the Somalian in Minnesota.
how quick did he go to jail?
Fast.
Okay, that's the
Yeah,
point
fast.
I'm making. When the roles are reversed, we always got an excuse for what the white man did or his background really never comes out about really how bad he was. It's just about how he was a child with mental illness. But when it's a black person that gets killed, the first thing you hear is, well, he had drugs in his system, or he had a criminal background or a criminal record. So my thing is this: if you had three people on one man, you didn't have to choke that man out. All three of you could have been able to take him down without incident, or all three of y'all were some weak wussies.
Let me ask that. In regards to there being other folks, only the guy who put him in the chokehold has been charged. Should those other two individuals be charged?
I think that they should, because you become an accessory. Because you saw the man going out too, and you should have said, hey, stop the choking. We got him. And
Yeah.
then one of you could have did the CPR. So you
Yeah.
allowed this man to be choked to death because you said nothing. Y'all, all three of y'all had him down. The first thing I would have said, man, get your hands from around that man neck. He going
So
out.
so let me present it to you this way then. Would your picture you paint of how society treats African Americans so differently, at the end of the day, with a manslaughter 2 charge, do you think he will actually be convicted? I mean, we talk about Kyle Rittenhouse or
Child,
George
no.
Zimmerman.
No. No. He's not going to be
You don't think
convicted.
you think he'll be found
Absolutely,
not guilty?
absolutely not. He's not. Because the first thing they're going to say is the man had drugs in his system. They ain't going to even know if the man was on drugs or not. But that's what they're
Yeah.
going to say.
Well, there's a toxicology report for that. But let me ask it to you this way. Even though we know he was a Marine and likely had training in regards to chokeholds, do you honestly believe he intended to take a life?
I don't think in the beginning he intended to take a life. I'm not going to even say taking his life was intentional. It became intentional when you did not stop choking the man after he stopped moving and you didn't do CPR. That's when you intentionally took his life. I don't think it started out to intentionally kill him. I think it started out really to stop him from doing whatever he was doing. But when you realized that he wasn't moving anymore and you kept on, that's when the intention started.
Any chance that he acted, talking about Daniel Perry, in regards to going after this guy based on skin color at all? Do you think if a white guy was on the subway, now Daniel Perry's obviously white, but if Jordan Neely was also white and doing the same thing as a white man, do you think Daniel Perry would have done it as well? You think he would have choked out a white guy like that?
I think he probably would have. I don't think. I think he would have still tried to, render the man, but I don't think he would have took it as far as he took it.
Mm.
And that's just my honest opinion.
So you do see some of even if it's just a length of the chokehold, you do see some racism in the actions of Daniel Perry.
I think I saw the racism come in when he didn't try to get a man CPR.
Yeah, yeah, he didn't. Now I haven't seen like. Is there any video footage out there of once the police and authorities arrive?
I haven't seen any.
Yeah, because you mentioned not giving him CPR and
I'm
things
just
like that.
saying it never mentioned that he did, that he tried. He didn't say that
Right.
he did, and he didn't say that he tried. So I'm just going by what he said.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And if
Well,
he did, then I would change my mind. But until they say he tried to bring this man back, then I'm sticking to my story.
well, based on what is being presented now, a manslaughter 2 charge facing a max of 15 years. Do you see 15 years as too much time, not enough time, or just right?
Um, honestly, I can't say, because if I was his family member, I would probably say 15 years was enough. Speaking as a person who's just on the outside looking in, I really can't say how much time he should get until the actual trial and we found out everything
Yeah. Yeah, a
that
lot more
happened.
detail.
But
Yeah, a
as a
lot more.
family member, yeah, I would want them 15.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot more details going to come out.
Right.
Daniel Perry's only 24, so even if he did a whole whopping 15 years, which nobody believes he will, he would still be 30 something years old. So I
Yeah,
mean, he's going to still have a lot of life, a lot of life ahead, even after this is over with.
right. And I hope that he feels some remorse and he understands that he took it to excess. I don't think that, like I said, if he didn't, like I said, after he realized the man wasn't moving and he didn't try to revive him, that became that you felt like that man's life was not worth being here anymore. And he's young, and maybe he, like I say, he was going off adrenaline, but we can't always use adrenaline because, like I said, when you in the bed and you being choked, the adrenaline is there, baby. But if I'm saying
I
it
gotta
ain't
go.
nothing so hot to trot, you better turn my neck loose.
I gotta go, girl. You stay around so we can talk some more. Don't let him choke your ass out.
He ain't gonna choke me out. I'm gonna choke him.
All right. Good talk to Keisha. Always
All
a good
right.
one. Jesus Christ. Jesus, Lord. Let Jesus take the wheel. Take the wheel. Listen, I'm not even gonna go into my whole personal story, but oh man, I can't imagine making a mistake and choking somebody out during sex. That's not gonna go well. Wow, that was crazy. Anyhow, folks, you know what this is. This is a lunch break live. I appreciate you folks. 110,000 likes. What do I say? You could be anywhere you want to be on TikTok. It's always an honor to have you here. Takesha certainly makes a great caller to conclude the program. Nevertheless, as always, this program is MAGA friendly. I seen folks in the audience did not like some of the opinions of some of my guests. Make no mistake about it, when you come on, if someone does not like your opinion or disagree with you, I'll never censor or block or ban you simply because someone else disagrees with you. I strongly believe everyone is entitled to their First Amendment free speech rights. The whole reason that the MAGA hat will always remain in sight is to let folks even on the right know no one's going to censor you here. I do believe that conservatives, Republicans, and particularly MAGA, do not often get a fair shake in the mainstream media. So the whole purpose is to let folks know in my tiny corner of social media, tiny corner, but growing, you'll always have your First Amendment free speech rights respected here, regardless of opinion. Nevertheless, it is your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Great program today. See you guys tomorrow. 11:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. p.m. 11:30 a.m. to noon Central is when we start this out. Feel free to follow the program if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle. You like civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any fear of being blocked, banned, or censored? Follow the program. Helps out the algorithms. Doesn't cost you a cent, but follow the program. Helps your boy out. Catch you guys later.